potatoes. That's what I'm doing when I get done.
Oh, now you're making me hungry, but we are on now. This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube, and my guest today is a returning guest, none other than former NWA World Champion Wildfire Tommy Rich. How are you doing today,
Hey,
sir?
somebody say something about Hannibal. It's a pleasure to be back, man. Yeah, shit.
Where are you living these days? Could you tell the fans you're in Myrtle Beach? You're telling me.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach. Yeah, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, man. Me and the wife, we've been out at the pool all day. Had a good day, and excited about getting on your show tonight.
Very good. And I understand you're still wrestling pretty regularly. You were wrestling in Philadelphia last weekend. What's your schedule like these days?
I stay pretty busy. I mean, I do some conventions, and you know, I can't do what I did years ago, but I sure still like to get in there and entertain a little bit. Uh, I'm going to first of the month. I'm going up to Illinois with Herb Simmons. Got a couple of things. Got a few things going on next week. We're at the for Jason up in Mayfield, Kentucky. They're having a big thing, and then we're going. And Jerry Lawler and Doug Gilbert will be there, and from there we go to the Metropolis. We're doing the Superman convention, so I'm excited about that. Got a few things going on.
Before you got into wrestling, what was your athletic background and where did you grow up?
Well, funny you should ask that. No, no. I was born in Nashville, raised up in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and my father and Eddie Marlin, they were good friends, and I grew up around the wrestling. And I used to go to matches when I was a kid at the old Hippodrome, and folks be throwing beer bottles. And back then they had the beer bottles. Yeah, I grew up. I grew up around wrestling. I played football in high school. Well, I played football, basketball, baseball all through my junior high. And then when I got to high school, I focused on football. And anyway, Jerry Jarrett used to come to the games. And anyway, he got me on the wrestling thing.
So, what was it like going to wrestling in those days with your dad when I think you're mentioning the bottles getting thrown? Did more people think it was actually real back then? And did you think it was real?
Oh Lord, yeah. I thought, yeah, yeah, and of course back then it was it about halfway was real, because they got in there and beat the daylights out of each other. I mean, it wasn't entertainment. I mean that's how you brought the people back week after week. If they believed in what you was doing, then you was doing it right, and they'd be back the next week to see what was happening. And uh, but I can remember one time I went with Eddie Marlin and Tommy Gilbert to Evansville, Indiana, and we're going down the road. All of a sudden the bounty hunters and Jimmy Kent pull up beside us, and I'm sitting in the back seat, and they're shooting birds and they're cussing at them. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I slid down in that seat. Yeah, I mean, I was a believer for a long time.
Did you have a favorite when you were growing up that you liked to watch?
Well, I loved what Jackie, back then you just had your local TV, but Jackie Fargo, I mean, Jerry Lawler says he broke him into the business, which I'm sure he did. But Jackie, of course, the blonde hair back then. I was kind of old hippie rebel kid anyway. So, it was cool. Jackie Fargo, of course, Don Fargo, and what a character he was, man. I mean, the stories about him, I mean, the Fargos was the thing in Tennessee.
And you mentioned Jerry Jarrett was going to your high school football games. Was that because one of his sons was on the team, or was he just going to show good community spirit?
No, actually, he came because Eddie Marlin. Uh,
Yeah, the
he had a
promoter. Is
brother.
that his father-in-law too?
Yeah, Jerry Jarrett married Deborah, and they moved to Hendersonville, and he started just coming to the games just to see me play. He was a big fan of football. At that time, he had no association, I don't think, with his kids. And so he'd come on Friday nights, and he even got me a partial scholarship to Louisville, Kentucky. And of course, my mom and dad, they got a divorce, and uh, so with that, I couldn't afford to go. And I asked about breaking into the wrestling business because I seen them all driving Lincolns and Cadillacs, but that ain't the way it is when you start.
No, and back in those days, you would have to pay some dues before they taught you how it went. Who trained you? And was it Jerry Jarrett that you asked to help get you into the business?
Yeah, I talked to Eddie Martin, Jerry Jarrett, and and what Jerry did. Well, I worked the summer on his farm. He had a horse farm, and I worked the summer on his farm. And anyway, he seen me out there one day. They told me to dig a water line up, and it was the middle of the summer. That ground harder than a rock, and so I dug about 20 feet, and then I started yanking it up out of the ground. So that impressed him a little bit. And so I talked to him about wrestling, and he'd had me like at the time I was working at a gas station, but my boss, he let me take off if I needed to because I told him I was going to wrestle. And anyway, Jerry said, be at my house at 3 o'clock. Well, I'd get there at 10 to 3, and they'd be leaving to go on a wrestling trip. He said, well, come back tomorrow. And I just kept coming back, and he seen I wanted to do it. And then he got Tojo Yamamoto trained me. Uh, we went down to Nick Goulis's. He had a ring under his office there, and a little gym. And I'd go down there with Tojo, and I didn't go but a few times. I had my first match was in Tupelo, Mississippi against Phil Hickerson, and that's where I started learning. Like I wrestled Phil that night, and we had Phil was a hell of a worker, and we had a pretty good match. Well, the next night, next day we went to Memphis TV, got my ass kicked. Then we went to Jonesboro that night, but I had to wrestle Tank Patton, and he was about 6'6", about 300 pounds, and had two left feet like I did. And we went out there, and the people wasn't buying what we were selling. And I thought, Lord, I don't know if it's what I want to do or not, but stuck it out, and man, it's been a blessing ever since.
At what point did they tell you it was a work? Was that like right when you were going to have your first match, or did you know in wrestling school?
Well, by the time, nah, no, Tojo beat the shit out of me. Yeah, Tojo beat me up, and you go to the matches, you kind of know, but still, back then it was physical anyway. You go out there because they tell you, say you miss a punch, I'm gonna hit you twice as hard. So you be sure you laid that stuff in, or you get not, you get beat up. So you made what you did. You made look good. And if people wasn't buying what you're selling, then that heel or if it's bad, whatever would take over and teach you a lesson.
What was the pay like in those days when you were starting off? Was it just as good as working on the horse farm, or were you making a little bit more?
I was making a little bit more, but I wasn't driving a Cadillac or a Lincoln at first.
No, I
Yeah,
can
I had,
imagine
I
not.
had a 70. Of course, I started in 76. I had a 73 LTD that I drove, but it got me there and back and everything, and so it was good. And I finally got me a nicer car.
What was the schedule like when you were first starting off?
God, when I first started, they put me and Tojo did an angle with the Von Von Steiger, the Germans, and we'd go and you just ask them about the pay. Like I wrestled one night in Lexington, Kentucky, and had to drive from there to Birmingham, and the Birmingham TV started like 9 in the morning, so you had to be there at 8. So I was going to drive through, but like back then, they paid you like for TV, you make $15. I'd drive to Birmingham TV, do that. That was $15. Drive to Chattanooga, make $15 for that TV, and then do the house show and hope you made $100. You know.
But in those days, $100 would be what? We're 200 today.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so.
So
And me just starting out, I probably wouldn't make about 50 to 75 to be honest. Yeah. Yeah.
there's a fan on here that wants to know, is the Tony Atlas KKK story a rib, your version? Do you know what he's talking about?
I, I've heard the story about Dick Murdoch. I don't remember. I don't remember. I can't imagine us going to a KKK meeting, but if Tony said so, I don't know.
You were always really close with Tony, weren't you? What brought you guys together? I know you used to travel together.
Well, I had a little problem in Tennessee, and asked Jerry Jarrett, could they get me booked somewhere? And he said, I can get you booked down in Atlanta, Georgia. And we used to, when I was doing my first angles, I did in Chattanooga, so I'd be good, still good in Memphis after I learned the business. You know, you had the Memphis territory, and then you had Nick Goulas, the other side. He had Birmingham and Chattanooga and them towns over that way, and Nashville, Tennessee. So I worked for him and learned the skills, but you know, it was I don't shit.
So how was Georgia compared to Tennessee when you went over there? Because would it have been Ole running it at that point and Jim
Yeah,
Barnett?
that was the deal. That's and like I said, I mean, I asked Jerry to book me up there, and he told me, and that's when Mr. Barnett was running. He said, if you get up there and you don't like it, he said, just call me and I'll get you back here. Well, I had me a red white velvet robe made. My mom, her friend, and my little brother come down. It was on Friday night in that Atlanta City Auditorium. Slap sold out. And I get in the dressing room, and Odie tells me, he said, you wrestling Abdullah Butcher. He's going to beat you in 30 seconds. We want you to bleed, and Tony's going to come save you. I thought, man, I did call Jerry Jarrett right now. And I said, no, I ain't going to do that. Anyway, I went out there and wrestled Abdullah, and I come back, and he said, thank you, kid. I'll give it back to you one day. And I thought, yeah, right. But anyway, Tony ran out and saved me, but he was doing some kind of deal where he was under the hood.
Is that the red robe, by the way, by any chance?
That's us right there. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's
Wow, were you ever a handsome young man in those days?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I still am.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Compared to me, yeah. But you were a heartthrob back then.
Oh yeah. And but anyway, Tony, I sit over there in my chair, busted. Sam Dooley told me that, and I was thinking, yeah, right. Tony come over, he said, hey, man. He said, it's all good, just stick it out. And anyway, his mask come off during the match. And so anyway, they ended up putting me and Tony together. And, of course, we was the first salt and pepper team to win the Georgia heavyweight titles, tag team titles. I mean, so and back that time, it was, a different world. It was a little more, what I'm saying, people more controversial. But when me and Tony teamed up, I mean, I think it brought people together, especially in the wrestling world, because we was over everywhere we went.
Yeah. How were the fans in Georgia compared to Memphis? Were you over more as a baby face there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was Hulk Hogan before Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan. I mean, back in the
Yeah.
'80s, I was on every one of Bill Apter's magazines. And thank you, Bill Apter. I love you, man. Bill took care of me. And I mean, it just was when I got down there, and it was just so good. Once I got over, I mean, I got to wrestle the best of the best. I mean, we used to go like after that Chattanooga TV. I said I'd do Chattanooga TV. Nick Goulas had a whatever, he was kin to Nick, but he had a Greek restaurant which carried the Georgia Championship. So we go from TV over there and eat and watch Georgia Championship. I see Ted, Dick Slater, wrestling number 2. I mean, they had a cast of characters. It was always like, if I make it to Georgia, man, I'm gonna be made the big times. And it was the big times for me. I mean, the best talent come through there. And not saying they didn't through Tennessee, because it got the cream of the crop too. I mean, I just, I'm very lucky that I'd wrestled in Georgia, and it was cool because they did. I mean, 17 had me as a big baby face, but I'd go home to Tennessee, and at first I was a baby face, but Lawler became the big baby face. So if you want to make, if you want to make money, you wrestle Jerry Lawler. So I turned heel and made some good money with Jerry, and loved being a heel. I mean, that angle that Austin Idol with the cage and on the floor and I hit under the ring. I mean, them old heels talked about quiet heat, and I said, I never seen it till me and
Yeah.
Idol did that and beat the daylights out of Lawler and shaved his head. I mean, that's climbing the fence. I mean, we had to have extra security. We stayed in the ring 30 minutes waiting for extra police to get there to get us to the back of the building. And that's when I realized, I mean, they back then the people believed, I mean, kind of like a magic trick. You go to a
Yeah.
magic trick a dozen times, but once you know how he does that magic trick, then it ain't as good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and as far as getting attacked like that, was that the most heat you ever had as a heel in those Lawler days?
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most of that was I mean, they told us to stay together. Austin Idol took off running, just left me behind. Yeah, he was getting the hell out of Dodge. I mean, it was some serious heat. I mean, that one guy tried to climb over the top of the fence, and he probably wishes he'd got inside the fence because the police beat the hell out of him.
Would you even go to bars as a heel in those days, in those cases, like when you had white hot heat and there's a good chance if you go out in public to a bar, you're going to get attacked? Would you just stay at the hotel in those cases?
Well, we had a couple of places like in Memphis that we'd go, uh, and just get back in the corner. I mean, and nobody really bothered you, you know.
Right.
Plus, and but if you did go to the bar and got your ass whooped, then you get fired too. So we didn't. I mean, as
Yeah.
far as going out, I mean, if you had a good spot where the people liked you, as far as the bouncers and shit, then you could go and have a good time. But you did, yeah, that was if you went out having a good time, got your ass whooped, then it was over. You was fired.
Who was the toughest bar fighter out of the guys that you knew personally?
Good God. I knew the toughest of the tough. I mean, Harley Race was bad. People talk about Harley. I seen him throw one punch and knock a fella out. I mean, Dick Slater, he was another bad man. Uh, Alpha and Seek, I seen them one day now when the police wanted to get them. They take it up for Michael Hayes, and Michael said something smart to somebody, and they was finna get him, and Alpha and Seek come in, and they whooped them boys. The police came, they about whooped them too before they got them under control. So, I mean, there was a lot of bad. Don Morocco, I mean, there's a bunch of bad boys.
What about Buzz Sawyer, who you wrestled him a lot?
Oh yeah, yeah. Buzz was a bad man. Yeah, Buzz was one of them that, you know. Uh, I'll tell you a story about him and the Iron Sheik. They, but I only called us one day wanting to know where they was at. They supposed to be up there to meet him because they ride with him, and we was in a hotel. And anyway, we went down there, and that room was tore all to pieces. Him and the Iron Sheik had been saying one was tougher than the other. So they got to wrestling, and they'd been wrestling in that room all night. It was tore up. Yeah. I mean, but that was hell, everybody got along though. I mean, they were just doing it to do it.
When Buzz was doing that extracurricular stuff above alcohol that he was known for, would he do that before matches too, or would he save that for after matches? Because I could only imagine if you have to wrestle him and he's all wired up, that might get you a little bit nervous about having to go in there.
Well, I'm sure he was buzzed up a couple of times. I mean, I ain't gonna say he wasn't. I ain't gonna say he was. But yeah, when he come out the ring slobbering and stuff, you knew he was on the roll. Yeah, but but he always got in there, got done his job. The only time he scared me when he wanted to try something different, like one time he seen Harley Race suplex me on the floor, and so he wanted to do that. Just when he was good, he wanted to try something different, something he ain't done. But he was, yeah. But I love. I mean, hell, We run around the circuit for 2 years. I mean, so and wrestled each other about every night. So he was good. He never did hurt me none. I mean, not on purpose. But that's what I told him. You know, only asked could I work an angle with him. And I seen him when they first come in. He just beat the daylights out of them. You know, the job guys and stuff. I said, if he gonna beat the daylights out of me, I can't. But he always, I mean, we fought now. We fought. Don't think we didn't fight, but he never did hurt me.
The funniest story about Buzz is Brett Sawyer said he went to McDonald's once and someone yelled at him that he was the old which the F word for gay people with his long hair, and I guess Buzz was in the car and heard these guys call Brett that and just came out and beat the living crap out of them right in the parking lot. I mean, I could just picture that happening.
Oh, and I'm sure it did because we wrestled in Williamson, West Virginia one night up in one of them old coal mining towns. And we come out there, wasn't but one store, so we stopped, got our beer. We was leaving. Buzz was pulling in. Some guy, they pulled up and started messing with them. And Buzz suplexed him out there on the pavement. I mean, he was a madman.
Would the police go easy on you guys for like drinking and driving and speeding back in those days? Because you guys were known and there wasn't really those dashboard cameras back then.
Yeah, we all, if you had some pictures with you, and it was old school back then. I mean, like today, they'd love to just get you and take you to jail, you know. But back then, yeah, it was different. I mean, they wouldn't let you, you know. I mean, if you was going right down the road, they say go on. But if not, I had a few let me go, let me slide.
Someone on here wants to know what was Mr. Wrestling 2 like?
Oh, hey, Wrestling 2 he was cool. I mean, he didn't like to see that young blood coming in. You know, he didn't like that. But as far as, I mean, he just always business. If he could help you out, he'd help you out. But you know, he was getting older when I first started in there, and so he had a little attitude about that. But he was always nice to me. And the main thing that sticks out to me, we're in Columbus, Georgia, one night, and it's like a baby face. You know, back then it wasn't a joy in the dressing room. You had the good guys and the bad guys. But anyway, we in there, and this guy in a suit comes. They tell Wrestling Two to come to the door, and there's two guys there in suits. You know, like black suits, and they talk to him in it, and two said, "These guys are gonna come in." Well, these two guys come in and walk through and look in the shower, and it wasn't a big dressing room. It was like couple rows of seats, and then they had the shower. They come look through it, everything. I thought it was going to be a drug bust or something. And it was, come to find out, it was Miss Lillian Carter. She was a big Wrestling 2 fan, and she come down, and they let her in. They let her in the dressing room. Her Wrestling 2 went back in the shower, and they talked for about 15, 20 minutes, and she left, and they pulled out. But yeah, 2 was over like a son of a gun.
Yeah, wasn't he at Jimmy Carter's inauguration? I heard.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he been Carter supporter, but they loved him too.
Did his wife ever make you a robe? Wasn't she the one that made a bunch of Ric Flair's robes?
The only one she ever made for me was the one that looked like Elvis, the white with the gold. It's got me on one of Bill's with a trophy. It was an Elvis jacket's what it was with the Zodiac style on it. You probably pull that up too.
Yeah, I'll try and look it up. And for Ric Flair, you were saying before in WCW, you didn't always have the greatest time with him. He would have an issue with you drinking, but then he would go out and get naked at the bars, which he's now got in big trouble for, to the point where he's blackballed from a few places.
Have you seen him lately?
Not lately, no, I haven't seen him. But you saw him last
I,
week or something,
I
didn't you? A
seen him
couple
in
weeks.
Philly. I seen him in Philly. Had a big busted spot on his head. I don't know. I don't know what it was. And a cut under his lip. I don't know if he got the tussle or fell or what. But he didn't look very good.
Yeah, did you see that pizza thing with him last year? Where he
Huh?
that was pretty funny.
What happened? I mean, what?
Oh, you didn't see that? He was at
No.
like a pizza restaurant in Florida, and he was drunk, and he was yelling at a bunch of the staff, and they got him on tape kicking him out. And he's even saying at one point he's challenging like the skinny bartender to a fight. Then one of the guys that are a bit bigger stands up and says, "I'll go out with you," and he completely ignores the guy. So
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of out of control now.
yeah, it's too bad, but I know he made some of that AEW money for a while, and they didn't even really use him for anything. So good for him that he's still getting money at least. Did you did you hear about Jim Ross getting colon cancer?
No,
The
I sure
latest news?
did.
No. Any memories of Jim Ross?
I wasn't never around Jim. He was down there for Bill Watts, and then like with WCW. I can't remember if he was there when I was there or not, but I just met him in passing a lot. And Jim's always been very nice to me. Uh, I mean it's sad, sad about his wife. I hate he lost his wife because I know how I would be too, and I know that was his world, and you hate to see that.
Someone on here, Mike D, is asking if you ever knew Giant Gonzalez. I think he was in WCW as El Gigante or something when you were there.
Elegante.
Elegante, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, hey, what a great guy he was. Yes, sir. Yeah, he was very good. He played pro basketball, right?
Yeah, did you ever wrestle him? I think he was. You were in that group with Terry Taylor and Marlena there. Alexandra York at the time he
The
was in there,
York
right?
Foundation.
Yeah, the York. That was you were a good heel at that time.
Yeah, Ricky Morton. It was me and Ricky Morton and Terry Taylor. That was pretty fun too. I enjoyed that. Yeah, we had a good little run.
What was Terry Taylor like in those days? Was he good to you?
Terry Taylor was a good yes man. You did If you didn't want to get back to the office, you didn't want to say it in front of him.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that about him. I think Scott Steiner in later years threw a TV at him or something in WCW for stooging him out about something. Did you ever
Yeah,
hear about that one?
yeah. He one of them be talking like you and me to each other, and then as soon as you turn around, he stab you in the back.
Then there was Ricky Morton, who was Richard Morton. That was one of the only times he was a heel, right? When he was in that York Foundation.
Yeah, yeah. See, Crockett, when Crockett took it over, he didn't like us and had his other baby faces. He switched us heel, so he could do that. He tried to kill us off. Not a big Crockett fan.
What was WCW like during that era? I imagine that would have been good pay at least.
Well, it was good. It was good for if you Terry Taylor was good, and we made decent money. I mean, I made good money, but if you wasn't in that little clique, you didn't make the money that you should make.
Who was the main clique in those days? Because what Dusty would have been booking, and what was that the committee? There was Kevin Sullivan too, but I guess Jim Herd was still around at that time too.
Well, when it first took over, uh, Jim Crockett come in. He said, and it's right there at TV, and he kind of turned me the wrong way, but he said some of you guys will be hired and some of you will be fired, and like I had friends, they were my friends because when it's territories, y'all traveled and hung out together and stuff. So it's like he come in and I knew I could get a job, and but anyway, he would just say anyway. Then he told everybody was flying up to TV on his planes, and he told me in Thunderbolt we had to drive up there. I didn't go, and Thunderbolt didn't go either. You know, so I'm not a big Crockett. I wasn't there, and then when you go to Jim Herd, Eddie Gilbert, he was in the office doing the booking committee style, and he got me back in. And Ric Flair right off the bat said. We don't want to hire him. He's an alcoholic. Well, I come to the committee. I go before the committee, and Jim Hurd, something I'll never forget. Jim Hurd told me, he said, Tommy, he said, you could be outside, stand in front of a big bar with a sign that says tavern on it, and somebody drive by and see you stand out there and swear to God that you was toe up and you not even be had a drink. You know, and I thought, well, you're right. I said, but if I was standing out front, I probably done had a drink. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah,
You
but
never hear any bad stories about you, though. I mean, I've heard that Jake Roberts has said some stuff about you too, but I mean, there's a million bad stories about him, but I haven't, nobody says anything bad about you.
what Jake Roberts say about me?
I heard he said something similar related to the alcohol.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
and that ain't like him smoking that shit and coming to the building police be looking for. He don't need to say nothing bad about me. Yeah, yeah. I got some worse stories on him than he does me, let me tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, he's one of the guys that AEW takes care of at least, so they're keeping him alive through. I mean, he just had heart surgery earlier this week, which you have to think might have to do with some of his past substance abuse, but
Yeah,
he did make it to his 70s. That's good. That's good for a wrestler. And you're the same age as him. You're doing good to see that you're doing good without all these surgeries.
yes, sir. I'm good to go. I'm good as gold. Still get in the ring, kicking a
Mm.
little bit. Hey, God's good, man.
But give us a Jake Roberts story. You said you had one. He's been in the news this week for that heart surgery. What he
Oh
because he
no.
was in WCW with you too, right? Or did you know him from Atlanta?
Well, I went down and did some shots for Watts, and I knew Jake, you know, and not needless to say, I went out with him a couple times and maybe did a little partying. Uh, but you know, hey, but a hell of a talent. I mean, he got a break when New York done good. I can't knock the guy. I don't want to knock the guy. God bless him. I hope his heart attack does. I hope he does good. Everything works out. I mean, you know, but don't be talking about me. I mean, we all got skeletons in that closet.
Yeah. And I don't think that was recent that he said that. So I mean, he's making like hundreds of $1,000s a year with Tony Khan for doing nothing. So he's got better things to do than throw shots at you these days. Vanderstar wants to know your thoughts on your WWF match versus Johnny Rods at Madison Square Garden. How did that come about?
Well, Mr. Barnett, I was working in Atlanta, and that's when senior was still alive. And anyway, he said, Tommy, my boy, he says, because I didn't like to go nowhere. I just like to wrestle there in Georgia. And anyway, he said, Tommy, my boy, he said, you need to go to the gardens and wrestle at least once to say you did it. I said, okay, Miss Barnett, I will. And I went up there and wrestled Johnny Rods. And I mean, I had a hell of a time. I mean, I got to meet Vince Senior. I mean, and it was very nice man. I mean, which I didn't go out and eat dinner or nothing, but we shook hands. He talked to me a minute, and it was really nice. I mean, and Johnny Rods, of course, the only thing to me that they had that boxing ring about 21 foot. Johnny Rods made me run all the way across them ropes about a dozen times. Yeah, he'd stay in the middle and I'd run them ropes. But we had a good match. We had a good match, and it was a pleasure to do it.
What could you tell us about Jim Barnett? Because I know you were one of his favorites, and now with everyone doing his impression, and he's been on Tales for the Territories, the stories and stuff, he's become kind of more known in the wrestling business than he used to be. Is there anything you can share about him?
Oh yeah, Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson didn't like me and wanted to get rid of me right off the get. And Mr. Barnett told him no. He said, I want to keep him. And so they kept me, and I got over, like I said, with Tony and me, we got over and to draw big money. And then Ole had to eat shit over that too. Uh, because then he used me, I mean, wore my ass out. I'd do singles. What made my longevity better, I'd have a run in singles, and then I'd wrestle. He'd bring Wahoo or whoever in, I'd team up with somebody to wrestle him and Gene. So but it made my longevity good. I mean, as far as Georgia and which I love Georgia, man. It was a hell of a time. I mean, you're home every night. You could hit the strip. It was really cool.
Yeah, and it's a major city, and it was booming during the period when you were on top. Could you tell us about the title change from Harley Race, and did you know about that much in advance? I mean, the NWA title was a massive thing to win in those days. They didn't just give it to anybody. You must have been so excited to hear you were becoming champion.
Well, I thought, well, I didn't know till I got to Augusta that night. They didn't nobody tell me nothing. Um, Harley, I love Harley Race to death, and I guess he loved me to death. I think he had a lot to do with putting that belt on me. Uh, Mr. Barnett, I think there was some that didn't want it to happen. Uh, but anyway, you know, I wrestled. They told me when I got there, Harley said it kids me with that press. I still thought he was ribbing. And we got out there and we went, I don't know, 40 minutes, whatever. He said, just out of the blue, he said, duck the clothesline, hit me with your press. I hit him with that press, 1, 2, 3. And then people, they was like, at first they was quiet. They thought, no, it ain't happening. And then they just went crazy. Andre the Giant, Andre come down, picked me up, put me on his shoulder, man. I mean, I get goosebumps now sitting here talking about it. I mean, one of the biggest things, and back then you had to put 10 grand up for the belt. Harley said, let his money ride. I love Harley Race. To me, the greatest world heavyweight champion there ever was in wrestling.
Now, I imagine there must have been a lot of jealousy when you won that title. Did you know about it at the time that there was probably people wanting you to drop it so fast, or was it always part of the plan to lose it quickly?
Well, I didn't know nothing about no plan, but I think it was a lot of heat for it happening. I think with the other promoters, like Crockett, Eddie Graham, Bill Watts, uh, I wasn't there. I wasn't what you call their world heavyweight champion. You know what I'm saying? But but at the end of the day, it don't matter. We did it. Uh, whether I held it 5 days or 2 years, it don't matter. I'm on that list.
Yeah, and again, that's when it meant a lot, and that shows how much respect Harley Race had for you. Do you have any Harley Race stories you could share with us?
Well, we come back from Augusta that night, and I had a Trans Am, and we running 80 and 90 already. And all of a sudden, I feel something. And I'm thinking, my car keeps going faster, and I ain't punching the gas. And there ain't no headlights or nothing. Harley done cut his headlights off, come up behind me, and was pushed me up to about 100 miles an hour. Oh, yeah. Harley loved to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now that would never happen. But there, that's just a normal day at the office. Oh, that's
Oh,
Harley
yeah.
pushing me
Yeah.
from behind at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, and that was shit Harley did. I mean, like I said, if I was in a bar fight, I'd want him on my side. And if I want to pull a hell of a rib on somebody, I'd want him on my side. Yeah, Harley's what you call the wrestler. I mean, because he had a good time with what he did and traveled. I mean, and you think about the schedule. And I was 21 when I had the title. And that's a hard schedule. I mean, like Harley, he'd be in Georgia for 3 days, Kansas City for 3 days, Charlotte for 3 days, Florida, go to Japan for a couple. I mean, that was a hectic schedule the world heavyweight champion had to do, and would go in and wrestle every night for an hour Broadway. I mean, so Harley did it all. I mean, truck drivers say they do a lot of miles. They didn't do no more miles than Harley did, and plus, when they got their load to wherever it went, they'd get the sleeper and go to sleep till they got it load. Harley would get to the town, get in the ring and wrestle, and then may have to fly somewhere else. So I mean, it was a grind.
How did winning that title like increase your bookings? Would that have been one of the busiest points of your career after you won the title just because of the boost it gave to your name value?
Well, like I said, I didn't like to travel a lot, And I mean, all of our stuff. And then, of course, in Georgia, then we started going to Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and up to Michigan. So I never did really have to leave. I mean, I'd make some shots for Bill Watts, or I'd make some shots for Crockett. And but once I told Mr. Barnett how much they paid me, Eddie Graham, Jim Crockett, and Bill Watts, Eddie Graham, and Jim Crockett, like I was on the Superdome and made $150 where Dusty Rhodes would make 3,000. You know what I'm saying? So, and I told Mr. Barnett, he asked me, he said, "Why don't you like to go work for these guys?" I said, "Well, Mr. Barnett, I'm gonna be honest with you." I said, "I can go to Carrollton, Georgia, which is one of our towns, and make $150, probably $250 because it's sold out." And I did the Superdome and didn't make that much. And he said, "Really?" I'm not Paul Bosch. Paul Bosch, what a gentleman. He was at school. If you was on a certain match, he paid every who it was that money. Paul Bosch, excellent. And then I'd go up there and work for Bob Geigel. I didn't mind going and work for him. I mean, they wasn't drawing the best money in the world, but it didn't matter because if it was there, he'd pay me. And if I didn't put ass in the seat, and that's the way we got paid. If you put asses in the seat, then you got paid for it. And I was on like in the Superdome, the fourth from the last match, and made that, which everybody else, I guarantee you, made $2,000 or better. So I just I didn't mind going for these shows for Mr. Barnett that folks are struggling because that was a hard time in the business. And like the Sheik. I mean, I went to Parkersburg, West Virginia. Mr. Barnett called him one time because he was, struggling, and asked him, he said, "Can I send you one of these guys off the TV to help you out?" Because they were good friends. And the Sheik said, "Send me the kid." Mr. Barnett said, "Who?" He said, "Send me the kid." He said, "I don't know who you're talking about." He said, "The new blonde headed kid you got." And he said, "You Tommy Rich?" He said, "Yeah, send him, send him." And Mr. Barnett told me, he said, "Well, I can get you Dusty Rhodes or I can get you so and so." He said, "No, send me the kid." So anyway, I went to Parkersburg, West Virginia. I was like 18, 19 probably then, or 20, 19 or 20, and heard all the stories about the Sheik, man. I thought, oh my God. And I get to the airport, I fly into Parkersburg, West Virginia, and it's a little bitty airport. And anyway, this band pulls up and smoke's coming out around it. And they get out, and sure enough, they there to pick me up, take me to the show. And I get to the show, and there's people all around the building. I mean, I get inside, it was jam packed full. The outside, he could run two shows. There was so many people that couldn't get in. And anyway, me and him had a very good match. I mean, a chic match. We fought, got our heads busted. I mean, so it was a hell of a night. And I got to meet him, and then from that I met Sabu. And of course when I went to ECW, Sabu befriended me because he said my uncle told me you was good people, and Sabu always took care of me up there.
Yeah, coincidentally, somebody right now is asking your best memory of Sabu.
God, just being the person he was, man. He was like anytime I need anything, he was there. I mean, he come. We did the ECW show in Atlanta. He come stayed at my house. I mean, yeah, Sabu and me had a very good relationship.
Very good. Mike D wants to know your thoughts on the Nasty Boys. Did you ever wrestle the Nasty Boys?
I don't know if I ever wrestled or not. I knew them. They couple wild and crazy boys. I mean, they was wild. I mean, they draw money. I mean, uh, I wasn't ever around them a whole lot. They did Atlanta, I think, for a little bit, but they didn't stay long because they was pretty wild.
Yeah, I think all that partying is catching up on knobs these days, from what I hear.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see. He didn't look very good. I hate that.
Someone's wondering your thoughts on Sunny. I think you knew her in ECW, and what do you think about her going to be in prison for the next 26 years?
Bless her heart. But I mean, you reap what you get. I reckon. I mean, you know, I mean, she got a lot of passes, man. And I knew her from ECW. I mean, she was a sweetheart. She was a sweetheart. And then I didn't see her, and then heard about her getting in all the trouble and stuff. And I hate it for her, but I hate it for the families, and she caused heartache too. Too.
Did she ever hit on you? Because she was known for that, and you being the heartbreaker over the years.
Yeah, I was too old for her.
I guess yeah. By the time you guys ran it across, it would have been what, the late '90s.
Yeah, I was too old for her. She like him young boys.
Someone says, "Is the rumor true that nobody wanted to drive with you because you were a bad driver? I guess or something." Did you ever? I never heard that about you.
Well, I might have been a bad driver, but I had a carload every time I left the house. Everybody
Yeah,
wanted to ride with me because I bought the gas, the beer, and the weed.
yeah, you had one of those fun time vans at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah.
Sure
You
did.
and Bill Dundee, they
Yeah,
his wife called them the horror mobiles or something.
yeah, yeah. They was the same color. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean those were the days, I guess. I mean those fun time vans don't exist anymore.
No, they don't make them. Not for the road no more.
Mark says he saw you in Arkansas last year for the Arkansas Wrestling Association, and he said you put on a great show.
Well, thank you, brother. I sure appreciate it, and still trying to keep it up.
Definitely. And as far as Andre the Giant, do you have any stories about him?
Oh, I told you when I first started, I drove that 73 LTD, right?
Yeah.
Well, after about a year or so, I bought me a 76, and it was in 1976. I bought me one of them long Oldsmobile Regency 98s. It wasn't a Cadillac or a Lincoln, but it was just as long and just as pretty. And so anyway, we wrestled in Louisville. I lived in Nashville, but we wrestled in Louisville that night, and Andre was there. Well, they come up to me and ask me would I give Andre a ride back to Nashville. At this time, I wasn't 18 years old, and I've seen Andre, but I ain't never, and I seen him at the match and said hi, and I was amazed at him, but as far as giving a ride back, I thought, damn, man. I said, but yeah, I said, yeah, what you gonna say? You're a rookie in the business. What you gonna say? Hell no, I don't want to give him a ride. But I mean, I didn't mind giving him a ride, but he could, and that's when he just first started coming to the state. So he didn't speak very much English either. But I said, yeah, I'll take him. And later I found out didn't nobody want to bring him back because he was so big because he broke their seats and stuff, laying on, which I didn't care anyway. So his translator, Frenchie, they'd been made a long trip. Well, he was over at the Holiday Inn Hotel asleep. So we did the match. They sent me there to pick him up. Well, as I'm pulling in, it's got like a horseshoe turn in it. And I run that fucking excuse me. I ran that dang Oldsmobile up on the curb and it went kaboom, then boom. And all I could think was his big hand smacking me upside the head. And he said, you okay, boss? You okay? Yeah. I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, Frenchie comes down. We get him. Now we're heading back to Nashville. And Andre says, beer, boss. And Frenchie said, he wants to stop and get some beer. He said, you drank? I said, yes, I drank. So we pulled in. I knew the little beer store to pull into. So we stopped. We said, what are you drinking? Back then, I was drinking them little Pony Millers. If I drank an 8-pack, I was doing good. So anyway, they go in. I sit in the car. They come out and they got 2 big boxes with them. Andre bought him a case, and he bought me a case of them little Pony Millers. I said, no, just give me a 8-pack. So anyway, put them in there. But he had bought him a case of quart beers. And what shocked and amazed me is that he put that quart beer in his hand. I put that little Pony Miller in my hand, and it looked like the same thing. I mean, that's. I mean, I had a lot of good times. He used to come to, that was just a crazy thing to see that little 7-ounce Miller and him with that quart. It looked the same thing, but from then, like I took him back to Nashville and. Uh, he wanted me to go down to Printer's Alley, which was the hot spot nightclub place in Atlanta. I mean, in Nashville back then. I didn't. I dropped him off, but then he started coming to Atlanta. Ricky Martel and me teamed up, which he's French Canadian, knew Andre real well. So anytime Andre would come into town, man, we'd go. He'd go with us. One night, we had the Omni. It was a big show, and usually we do 3 weeks at the Atlanta City Auditorium, and then on the 4th week we go to the Omni for the big show, and that's when they bring people in, And so anyway, Andre was in there, and it was on Sunday night, and we always dressed up when we went to the Omni. I mean, you're supposed to dress up all the time, but the Omni you really dressed up. So we went in. I just bought me a new suit. I bought me this little powder blue new suit and everything. And so me and Ricky was talking because he'd get us so drunk and toe up. Sometimes we'd be sick, sometimes we wouldn't. But anyway, we said, it's going to be an easy night tonight because on Sunday, everything closed at midnight in Atlanta back then. So we went to this little Irish pub and we drank, and me and Ricky made it through to midnight. We said, man, we got it made. Andre said, boss, we go this after hours bar. We went over there and it was, holy shit, it was, it stayed open all night. So I mean, me and Ricky both lived there back then and didn't even know the bar was there. Andre knew where it was at. So we went in. I said, give me a vodka grapefruit. And I chugged that thing. I said, told Andre, there ain't even no liquor in this. He made a guy pour me another, and there wasn't no grapefruit in it. And I chugged it. Anyway, at the end of the night, they shut the lights off at 3 in the morning, and then they start cooking breakfast. And they started cooking that bacon and shit, and that stuff didn't go with all that booze. I run to the bathroom, get sick. Well, they had one bathroom stall and one little urinal. Anyway, the stall was locked, so I had to throw up in that urinal. And all of a sudden, there was somebody in there. It was Rick. He was in there getting sick too. Me and him both. They had an L-shaped bench out front. Rick was laid on one, and I was laid on the other. And people was walking in and saying, look, Tommy Rich and Rick Martel. Andre come out, picked us both up in his arm, me in one arm and Rick in the other, carried us to the car, and he drove. I didn't know he could drive. He drove us home.
That's hilarious. Did you ever experience one of his famous farts that he would do and make everyone want to puke?
No, I wasn't ever around that.
Lucky you. Speaking of Rick Martel, what's happened to him in recent years? He's kind of dropped off the radar.
Yeah, he got completely away from the business. I don't know. I hadn't talked to Rick and it's been years.
Glenn wants to know, in Mid-Atlantic and 1970s, who did you find hard to work with?
I back then all the talent was good. I never had a problem with nobody. I mean, uh, I started business in '76 into '75, '76. Like I said, my first angle was Lon Steigers. Then I wrestled Phil Hickerson, and these guys, it wasn't about beating you up. They wanted to teach you. So I was pretty lucky as far as all of that goes. I mean, I did real well.
How did you come up with the Wildfire name and persona, which you developed more over the years?
Well, Tony Atlas give me that name. We was on TV one day and he was cutting a promo. He said, "Hey," Gordon said something to me. He said, "Gordon," he said, "this guy's like a wildfire in that ring," and it just stuck.
What was the whole thing with Ann Gunkel and the whole Battle of Atlanta all about? Were you around for that thing?
Well, I come in after Ray and Ann Gungle ran opposition about against Barnett, and anyway, they sloughed them out, and then that's when I come in, and Mr. Barnett had made the deal with Ted Turner, and Ted Turner he had Georgia Championship Wrestling and his Braves, which his Braves sucked back then. If you look back, they wasn't very good. But that was his two selling points, and then he showed the old movies and stuff. And but it was like Ted Turner. He was like cable before cable was cool, and we got on there and did that. And then after I had a run, and then I think it was when Crockett and them bought WCW. Piper had me a shot up in WWF, and Ann Gunkel opened back up. That's after her husband Ray died, and she had opened back up and put me on the guarantee, and I worked for her for about a year, maybe a year and a half. I mean, she ran shows.
Any truth to the rumor about her and Ted Turner that they were an item outside the ring?
That I couldn't tell you, my friend, but they
Yeah.
could be. I don't know.
Did you ever go around with her back in those days?
Well, I knew Ann real well. I knew her. She had a son and a daughter. I mean, I knew her whole family.
What was the guarantee like in those days? Was it pretty good working for Ann?
It was 2 grand a week, and I was
Oh,
home
wow.
at night. Didn't work, but about one day a week, so it was pretty good.
Was there a lot of heat from the other group at that time?
Not really, because that's when it was all separated. WCW, it wasn't just Atlanta based, it was all over the country. And she
Okay.
running there, and we went to Albuquerque. She did a couple of things out of Georgia too. I mean, she was busy.
What was working with the Road Warriors like? You had them early in their career.
Well, it was two bouncers that come out of a bar in Minnesota, and Odie just told them to go in there and beat the shit out of you, and which they didn't know how to do nothing but beat the shit out of you. So it was, I mean, but they was good once they learned it. I mean, once they learned it, they was as good as you get. I mean, and they got over by beating people up. I mean, when they come in, and then as they learned to work, they eased off, but they done got over by beating people up.
You mentioned everyone was pretty good, but Vanderstar is asking who was the stiffest you ever wrestled.
God, probably Terry Funk.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about wrestling Terry Funk. Have anything you can share with us about Terry?
Nah, I mean, just Terry. Well, he'd come into Georgia, and do his shots and everything. He told me one time, he said, "Man," he said, "you kidding me?" I said, "What do you mean?" And him and Dory was on their way to some town and pulled into the store, and they knew who the Cadillac. They knew the Rascals. Anyway, they come up hollering was Tommy Rich in the car. He said, "Boy," but he was cool. Like, and then me and him hit it off. I mean, that when I say the stiffest, back then, that's the way you worked. I mean, that's just was the way Terry worked. I mean, it wasn't. He didn't beat me up. I didn't have no busted eye or nothing like that. It was just a good, hard, solid match, and I mean, his dad rather, and back then especially, that's when they was stiffer than Hades probably, you know. But that's because you had to believe people had to believe what they were selling, and they didn't cut it short. I mean, they get in there and beat the shit out of each other, and then be in the back talking about whatever, smoking a cigarette, whatever the deal was. But yeah, it was just the business was solid. I mean, I loved working with Terry. It just said you had to fight.
What do you think about now? Because you talk about back then how the business was protected and all the stiffness and hard way she had to go through. And now you'll have like The Rock do that heel turn with John Cena, then right after do a press conference on the same YouTube channel and say it was all a work, and then we're still supposed to care.
That's the difference. I mean, it's just no mistake no more. The people see it before they see it. I think. I don't know. I try to watch a little bit of it, and it's night and day difference to what I did.
And a lot of this stuff, it looks like, I mean, it looks cooperative. It looks like you would have to be cooperating with this other person to do the move, but they define a good wrestler now on if you can do these moves, like the Canadian destroyer type stuff that you would never see in a real fight in a million years.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do what they do today. It's more acrobats than it is. I mean, wrestling to me now. I mean, you got to be a high flyer. I couldn't if I had to do what they do now, diving through the ropes and the floor and all that. I mean, you do that stuff every now and then, but they do it every match 2 or 3 times, and it just I don't know. It just to me, it's just changed so much.
Yeah, it's totally different. And for whatever reason, I'd rather go back and watch one of your matches than the stuff today because it's just, I just can't get into it for whatever reason. Someone, South Force 10, is asking how you got along with Ron Fuller and were you around during the Knoxville War?
Yeah, I was there. I got along good with Ron Fuller. They took care of me. I wrestled for him in Continental Championship Wrestling when they had that. I did real good with them. Uh, you know, and then I was there in Knoxville when they had the thing. Dick Slater, Bob Orton got in a fight one night at the bar. Because there was the opposition, and uh, that was a scary sight seeing them two tie up.
Yeah, what happened there? What was the finish of that
Well,
one?
they just throwed a couple of punches at each other, and we got it broke up. But that was some high test drive going on.
I heard Dick Slater liked to give people swirlies in the toilet after he beat them up. I heard Terry Funk say this, that he would beat them up, then he would drag them to the bathroom and shove their head in the toilet like you'd see in a movie.
Well, I think he did that to Sting.
Yes, yeah, he did do that. Were you around for that?
I didn't know. I wasn't there. I heard the story.
Yeah. Good thing Sting didn't turn him off of wrestling because he ended up making a fortune in the business.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he. What was Slater like? I mean, we hear about that, but did he have a nice side too, or was he just like
Oh,
your?
me and Diggy, when I've come to Georgia, he kind of took me under his wing. Yeah, I got along good with Diggy. Yeah, when Diggy was done booking out in San Antonio, I went out there and anyway, we had like a 300-mile trip. Wanted to get back. My wife went out there with us and with me. And anyway, we come back. He drive, and it's just flat ass road. He driving 100 miles an hour. We decided to stop and take a leak. Well, I get out. I use the bathroom. He gets in. We going down the road. Man, I'm thinking, hey, something. I got out of that car and stepped in the ant bed. He had to pull the car over. I stripped down. I had to ride back in my drawers. Yeah. But yeah, Dick and me were real good friends. I love Dick to death.
Carl wants to know approximately how many people did you personally witness Buzz Sawyer kick the crap out of?
Well, if he wasn't working on top, he kicked shit out of everybody on TV. Uh, but he got in a few fights. Buzz was tough. I mean, he didn't say no to nobody.
Did you ever hear the cause of death of Brett Sawyer? Because he died a year or so ago, and no one really said much about what actually happened to him. He just kind of died, and that was it.
That's been more than a year or so ago.
There, yeah, probably maybe it was 2 years. I don't know, but
It's been 5 or 6, ain't it?
Very well. You know what? I may have had more concussions than you.
I was thinking to say, I'm thinking it might be closer to 10. I don't know.
No, I don't know if it's been 10. I definitely interviewed him within the last 10 years for sure. But
Okay.
it may have been more than a year. But
I know it's been more than a year. Shit, Brett just died a year ago.
yeah. Oh no, I was talking about Brett. Buzz, you're right. It's been 10 years. Yeah. I was
Oh,
talking about Brett. Yeah, Buzz, we know why he died.
yeah.
But Brett, it didn't come out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
I
he
was
had quit drinking and stuff,
one of
right?
the last times I seen him. I don't know. He was tore up. I don't know. He didn't know where he was at hardly. I mean, I don't know what happened to him either. To be honest.
Here's a good question. Thoughts on Billy Jack Haynes, who you wrestled in 95? They just put out a Dark Side of the Ring on him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, in the brief period I met him, he was a nice fellow to me, but I heard a lot of stories about him, and then I seen that Dark Side of the Ring, and he 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 must have been a crazy cat, because yeah, I mean, just all them stories. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it came out yesterday that he was declared unfit to stand trial. So he's going to be in a mental institution until they declare. Who knows if they ever will, but he's not mentally capable of being questioned on the stand right now, apparently, for the case of the death of his wife.
So he played that crazy card good.
I mean, I believe it. I mean, he would call me and tell me this stuff, and I mean, I would hope that he was working me. I hope that I used to actually have a hope that he was somehow working me a little bit, but I'm beginning to less and less think that any of it was a work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I watched that Dark Side of the Ring, man, I thought, damn. I mean, like him saying that the two kids on the railroad track and just all that stuff. I mean, that's some far out thinking there.
Yeah, I actually interviewed not too long ago a senator from, or I don't know a senator, but he's in the government of Arkansas, and he said that they actually looked into it because it was news in Arkansas when that came out,
Yeah,
and they found no connection to him whatsoever. I mean, they would have immediately arrested him
exactly.
if
And that's and he's told so many different stories. I mean, and some of them could be true, but he's got so many that ain't true that you just don't know.
like he worked for Pablo Escobar. Like, okay, I
Exactly.
don't doubt that he probably sold something here or there, but I doubt he was dealing with the big
Yeah.
wigs.
And like talking about that thing with the two kids, I mean, that was pretty heavy. There's a big drug deal, and he was there, and that's too much.
I just feel bad for him because what kind of lawyer before you go on trial lets you go on a international television show and say all this stuff unless that's part of the plan to get him off for being crazy. Maybe it
Yeah,
worked.
I mean, yeah.
Because if I was the lawyer, I'd be like, "You're just keeping your mouth shut. You're
Yeah,
not. You're not going on this show."
you say a word, yeah, yeah,
Apparently, he told the lawyer to pass a message along to me that he didn't want to be remembered. He doesn't want to be remembered as O.J. Simpson, but he offered me a great deal of $2,500 to interview, and I'm like, I don't know how much you think we make from YouTube, but he ain't gonna make $2,500 back. But
2000 had a firm 2,500. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, this is not a television show where you're fully funded. But anyway, there's no doubt he's crazy. Yeah, someone says Tony Atlas gave you the Wildfire name because of the way you went through women. One of the fans is saying, "Did Tony Atlas? Is that any true? You
no,
went
that's
through
not
women."
because I went crazy in the ring.
Glenn wants to know which heel had the most heat of any wrestler you were ever in the ring with.
Me and Austin Idol.
Austin Idol, yeah. He's still with the NWA, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Wildfire. I mean, there's a lot of them going on in the world these days. Another guy that had a dark side of the ring lately was Eddie Gilbert, who you teamed with and feuded against in Memphis. Could you share us any memories of that?
Oh, I knew the Gilbert since they was kids.
What did you think of the relationship with Eddie and Missy Hyatt?
It was a wreck looking for a place to happen.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Missy Hyatt.
Because she had left, I guess, John Tatum for Eddie. Did you ever hear? I heard Bill Watts say that John Tatum had killed somebody in a car wreck in the Mid South territory, and then Watts ended up having to pay the payout to the family of the person that passed. Did you ever hear anything about that?
No, I never heard that. But like I said, like with Eddie, I grew up like when I got in the business. Tommy Gilbert, like his daddy, I was in a boxing match with Tommy Gilbert one night in Evansville, Indiana, and he told me, he said, and it was in big old gloves, and we got in the ring. He said, "Come on, hit me, hit me, hit me." Well, when I first started, the first round was over. When the first round started, my gloves was up above my face. When that second round started, they done dropped down to my chest, and he said, "Hit me, hit me, hit me," and I'd hit him. And then by the third round, he just beat the shit out of me because I was blowed up. But I met Tommy like through Eddie Marlin, like I said, with the bounty hunters at the time. And then when I got into business, Eddie and Doug, they would come to Louisville, Kentucky. And so I got to know the Gilberts. I've been around them as much as I have my own family. And Doug and me still like family. But, Eddie was a great talent. We lost too young. And this business it does it to a lot, but we've lost a lot. Like in my age group, man, we've lost a lot.
Oh yeah, even my age group, we've lost a lot. Not as many as yours, but for some reason, I guess the hard part is when you get out of the spotlight or you lose the opportunity to perform at the highest level. Some people just can't take it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and you spend all your life. I mean, especially back then, because we wrestled every night and was traveling, so you don't have no time to pick up no kind of second choice when wrestling runs out. If you're doing good, you stay there. You ain't got time to try to pick up another trade or nothing. So you do this all your life, and then once you lose it, it's like a football player, baseball player, anybody else. Once you get out of the limelight, it's tough, and especially if you ain't got a fallback plan.
Like Sabu, for instance. Like I know it's sad that he passed away, but one thing I was saying is like when he's in so much pain, in some ways at least he's out of pain, and what's he gonna do? Go work at Walmart now? Because I don't know what education he had to do anything other than wrestling.
Yeah, I mean and like I said, Sabu's a good friend. I mean, I love Sabu to death, and it's just sad it happened, and you know he, he's gonna do it one more time, and be done with it. But sometimes I don't know, just sad.
Yeah, and I bet you didn't think it was the last time you'd ever see him when you ran into him a few weeks ago.
Oh hell no, no, I did, no.
ATF Media wants to know, did you ever survive a punch from the hands of Stone Ronnie Garvin?
Never. I wrestled with Ronnie a couple of times. Never wrestled against him, but I just seen him uh, probably a couple of months ago. And Ronnie still looks good. He's got to be 80 years old, probably. And he still looks. I mean, he looks fit. He looks fit like you wouldn't want to tussle with him.
Yeah, he does keep himself in good shape, and he's one guy that was smart and got his pilot license and became a pilot after wrestling. So good for him. Somebody wants to know, you wrestled Stone Cold many times in WCW. Did you think he was going to go on to be the star that he ended up becoming?
No, I didn't. I didn't. But he was a very humble person. Like when he was in WCW, I got to know him as Steve Austin, not Stone Cold. What a great gentleman. Ask questions. I mean, he wasn't one of them that thought he knew it all, and he moved on up. I mean, and God bless him for it because he deserved it. Because he was, very respectful. Because like when I'm talking about, that's when the business started to change, and you had a lot more egos coming in, thought they knew it, but he always was ready for, was that good or was that good, So a lot of respect for that.
As far as all the other titles you've won over the years, obviously the NWA World title was the biggest. Is there any you would put number two that you would say is like the second most important title reign or victory
Well,
of
I
your
don't know
career?
if it's the most important title reign or not, but remember I told you at the beginning that Abdullah the Butcher told me, he said, "Kid, I'll give it back to you one day."
Yes.
You remember me telling you that
Yeah.
earlier? Hannibal. Can you
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
remember he said he would get help you out for
He
putting him
said he was
over.
gonna get. He said he'd give it back to him.
Right.
Well, it's Thanksgiving night, and we're at the Omni, and anyway, Wahoo got in a fuss with Ole Anderson, and so he didn't show up. It's supposed to be Abdullah the Butcher against Wahoo that night, and anyway, Ole Abdullah said, "Who you want to work with?" He, he said, "Who you want to work with?" He said, "The kid." He said, "Do what?" He said, "The kid," because everybody called him the kid. Anyway, he told Otis said, "Okay." He said, "We got Dusty here." He said, "No, I want the kid." He told me, and that this is probably 2 years later. He told me, he said, "Remember I told you I was going to give it back to you, kid?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Tonight's your night." And they had a little rail around the ring, and you ain't never supposed to get outside of it, especially at the Omni. So we in there, we start out, boom, boom, boom. Otis said, "Don't go on the floor." Of course, Abdullah, I knew I was going on the floor. We get to the floor, he climbs over that rail. He said, "Follow me, kid." We go up through them bleachers, and they parting like the Red Sea because they all scared Abdullah. I fight him back down. We get back up in the ring. I'm hitting him. I'm hitting him. He said, "Slam me, kid." And I was probably 210 soaking wet. And he was probably at least 350 to 400. And anyway, he said, "Slam me." I said, "Abby, I can't." He said, "Slam me, damn it." I said, "I can't." And he said, "I said something." Anyway, I picked him up and he come right up and I slammed him. And that building went woo. And from then on, I was over more than I was over before.
Wow, I can imagine because that was one of his most popular towns. He ended up opening the restaurant in
Yeah,
Atlanta because he was so popular there. Well, that's nice. Another guy you wrestled a lot was Ivan Koloff, right? He's another legend that put
yeah.
you
I've
over.
been well when Gene got out of business because of his arm. Uh, Ivan took Gene's role and teamed up with Ole, and I wrestled them everywhere. And Ivan, yeah, and you talk about, I mean, you talk about scared to death because he had a good reputation too, but he was just as soft as anybody you'd ever think.
What did you think of them putting Ivan in the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame? Like he's not good enough for an induction, so they put him in the. I mean, they put Bruiser Brody in there too, so it's not really an insult, but you don't get an actual ceremony or anything. It's just like, okay, you're in the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame now. I guess it's better than nothing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I them were some of the hardest, most stand up guys for this business in the world. Uh, it's sad, it's crying shame that they ain't in there, uh, just cause they kind of rebels or whatever.
Yeah, he had some heat with Vince McMahon, I think, at some
I
point.
guess I got heat with him too because I ain't in there either.
Yeah, they'll put you in there one day. It just depends.
I don't want to go in there after I'm dead.
I was just gonna say you're gonna be one of the guys they put in after you pass.
Yeah.
Some of them, like I know Vader really wanted to go in, but they didn't put him in when he was alive. And Sid didn't care, but he should have been in there a long time ago. Did you ever wrestle Sid, Justin?
I was in Memphis when Lawler put that Lord Humongous gimmick on him. I wrestled him a couple of times.
Oh, right when he was green.
Yeah, yeah. Now he was a little stiff. You talk about stiff. He was a little stiff when he first started, and plus they Lawler fed him, pumped his head up, so he was really a lot stiffer.
Yeah. He's a pretty nice guy though. I find that for whatever reason, I guess Flair and some of those guys didn't like him, so they kind of bury him all the time. But to me, he was a pretty nice guy. He didn't seem to have an ego, but maybe it was just the time I met him. How did you find Red?
Sid was as far as that. Sid was good people. I mean, I always got along with Sid as far as the
Were
other
you
side.
were you there when Sid had his squeegee incident in WCW with Brian Pillman and took out the squeegee thing from his car? Did you ever hear about
No,
that?
no.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's true or not, but
Yeah,
people
Brian
talk.
Pillman, I always got along with Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
That was good people.
How did you find working for WCW compared to the territories? Because I guess WCW would have been very corporate. Did you like getting the regular paycheck rather than working off the house? Did it make up for the corporate environment, or do you prefer the territories?
Uh, I mean, and I know all these guys love to make that big money now, but I love putting asses in the seats. Uh, it just, I mean, from what I hear, I ain't been in no dressing rooms today, but I hear each one of them sitting in their own corner and they ain't no fellowship or nothing. They all about themselves. So I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a different cycle now.
All the stars have buses.
Yeah, they have not like that part.
Yeah. Right. But people will pick on like the Warrior for wanting his own dressing room. Well, now they have their own buses, and they're not as popular or as deserving as the Warrior was. But did you ever run across the Ultimate Warrior in
No,
the
never had
territory?
no dealings with him. I mean, I never. He was up in WWE, and I never did. Yeah, well, our paths never crossed. No, a lot of
What
stories
about
about him. Never met him, so I don't know what to say. I mean, I know, I know he got over.
what about Ted DiBiase? I actually heard him stick up for you. Somebody was doing an interview with Ted and said that Jake had said that stuff about you, and Ted said, "Well, I never heard any of that stuff about Tommy Rich, and I loved working with him." So I
Oh,
assume
and
you
me and
guys were.
Ted, yeah, Ted was a good friend of mine when he was in Georgia. Of course, we had that run where he beat me in a loser leave town, and I came back as a mysterious Mr. R. Uh, yeah, Ted was in a hell of probably as good a worker as anybody in the business. I mean, he know how to get the people. I mean, it was good.
You won the WCW six man championships back in '91 with Ricky Morton and the Junkyard Dog. How did you like that title run, and what was the Junkyard Dog like in those days?
God, I loved him as much as the fans loved him. JYD, hey, uh, I mean, he liked to take care of his business and have a good time, but he loved them fans just as much as he knew where he come from, and he respected the whole the whole 9 yards, man.
Yeah, he's another one of the ones that, I mean, would he have even been 40 when he passed? He was pretty young.
I don't know how. Probably around that age. I mean, he went down
Yeah.
to see his daughter graduate, so I would say around 40.
I mean, good guy, just sadly had some demons, but in that WCW time, he was making a bit of a comeback, I guess, right? Bill Watts had hired him back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and which Bill should have let him, because JYD made Mid South Bill Watts territory. I mean, JYD's the one that popped it wide open.
Were you in Mid South much?
I did some shots in and out, but I wasn't there a whole lot.
Yeah,
No.
because he wasn't paying you
Yeah.
what you felt
Yeah.
you want.
They just won't pay me like I was a little punk.
And the travel was terrible there, wasn't it?
Oh Lord, yeah. I'll tell you a Jim Duggan story. I did fly in, and me and Duggan was together, and we was going from Louisiana somewhere in Texas, but we went by Gillies. And so we stopped. Jim said, "You gonna stop and have beer?" I said, "Yeah," because Gillies was a hot thing back then. So we're going in. As we're going in, he said, "Watch." He said, "I'll get in a fight before we get out of here." I thought, now if I'm gonna fight somebody, I ain't gonna fight your big ass. I'm gonna fight this little blonde-headed boy before I mess with you. So sure enough, he said, "Let's take a leak for me." So we go in the bathroom. There's a stall. I go in it, and there's a urinal, one of them long urinals. He's standing there peeing. This boy walks in. He said, "Whew, you sure are a big ugly motherfucker." He told that to Jim Duggan. Jim looked at me. He said, "What'd I tell you?" About that time, he said it again. When he did, Jim hit him, knocked his ass out. He went down the floor. Jim said, "Come on, we probably need to go." I said, "Okay." So Jim walked out. I stepped over the guy, and we went to the car and left. We never got a beer at Gillies.
I guess in those days you could just get a beer for the road at a bar, right?
Yeah, well, we was gonna stop and have one, but
Oh, okay.
after he knocked that guy out, he figured it's time for us to leave.
Yeah, get out of there before the cops come. The good old. But yeah, you make a good point. Why is someone going to try and pick a fight with him of all people?
Yeah, I mean, I'd pick me if it's you and
Yeah,
me standing there. I'm picking me. Yeah.
yeah. As far as your time in ECW with the full-blooded Italians, how did you get brought into ECW, and what did you think of the company?
Hey, it was great. I mean, uh, when I came in, well, Tommy Dreamer and Paul Lee talked about it, and they want Tommy Dreamer was a Tommy Rich fan. Anyway, they brought me in, and I had a couple of matches in singles and stuff, and they didn't know what to do with me, and they come to me and said, "Well, how would you like to be a manager?" And I said, "Well, does it pay the same?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, hell yeah, I'd love to be a manager." And and with little Greedo and Tracy, I mean, it was such a good combination of us and them Italian people. They hated me and Tracy, and they hated little Guido for teaming up with us. So it was good. I mean, it was really good.
And you talk about the first time you wrestled Abdullah, you were a little hesitant to bleed. Then you went on to be known as a great bleeder in wrestling. When did you kind of realize that, hey, I'm good at this talent of bleeding?
Well, I just figured if I didn't let them bust if I didn't bleed good, they'd bust it open some more. No, I don't know. I just always bled good. I mean, that was that. I mean, back then, that's what the people wanted was blood and guts, and that's what we gave them.
I remember you wrestled Abdullah in Atlanta like maybe 20 years ago. Someone put on a show at the big arena there, right? It was NWA or something. Do you remember that? I remember seeing you covered in blood. on
I,
that show
well,
too.
I bet that's about what I remember. We got, but the color was
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Your hair was. Did you get paid extra for that in those days? Would they say you'll get 50
No,
extra or something? No.
no, they didn't pay you no extra.
And I guess it would help you get the girls after want to take care of you.
Yeah.
Was there a difference if you were a heel or a face as far as the girls, or would they be loyal to you even if they believed it was real and suddenly you like
Well,
turned on Lawler or something?
didn't nobody like the heels? Didn't nobody like the heels? Everybody liked the baby face.
In those days, like, would you bring pictures around to shows like in the 80s, like they do that, like you do at Independence now? When did that start? Like selling pictures and stuff. Was that always there, or is that
No,
something?
no. When I went to Continental, we started doing that and found out we could make money. But and they missed out on so much money if if they'd had the marketing plan now, like I mean back then, like they do now. I mean, they had T-shirts and pictures of all the guys. I mean, they'd have made a killing on that, especially off of 17 because 17 was such a hot channel. They would have sold, ain't no telling how many Tommy Rich t shirts or any other baby face that because that TV went all over the country and it was the only one, I mean, that went out like that. I mean, it's like the Funk's telling me, you know, how much over I was in Texas. And I didn't even know that. I mean, so the market, I mean, it would have been, unreal.
What was the pay like for those TBS tapings? Is it true that it was like 25 bucks because they said, well, you're getting on TV worldwide, you're doing it for the publicity?
Oh yeah, but we didn't make nothing. I mean, the guys that come put you over made something. We didn't make nothing for TV
I didn't
because
know that.
of what you said. I mean, that was our time to get over. And if we didn't have that, they giving that to us. They giving us opportunity. So we got to do what do with it. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you was a job guy, then you got paid. But if you was one of the guys getting pushed, then you didn't.
Was there ever any discussions to bring you into the WWE in the late 80s or early 90s?
Well, Roddy Piper had me booked there twice, and I just didn't go. At the time, I had three daughters, and just didn't want to pack up and move up there. Didn't want to be gone. I just the opportunity was there, and I just didn't. And regrets, I don't know if I have any regrets because I've done all right. Uh, but that might be one thing I should have went up there just to check it out.
I guess you must have been friends with Piper then if he was going to hook you up.
Oh yeah, Roddy and me. Yeah, Roddy and me. When he was here in Georgia, I mean, we traveled together. Everywhere we went together.
Could you give us a Roddy Piper story? Because he's a pretty wild guy.
We coming back from Williamson, West Virginia one night, and anyway, we had some in volumes, and we coming down the mountain. That car would when you went around the curve, the ass end would come up and meet the front end because the curve's so sharp. We come down this curve and there's a big orange side. Roddy slides through it. We back up. Brad Armstrong said, "Tell him to let you drive." I said, "He ain't gonna let me drive. You telling me that?" I said, "You just making it worse." We backed up. We went 100 yards. It was a hard right turn. Anyway, Piper never turned the car. We hit two railroad tracks, and the front end of the car was hanging off like a ravine, like in the movie. The cooler, we had a styrofoam cooler, it busted. Uh, anyway, we all leaning back in the seats like in a movie, and all you could hear is sirens coming. Siren. Well, they ain't nobody in this town. This black boy is a little uh, community center. He's hollering, "Woo, I knew y'all was gonna wreck. Woo, I knew y'all was gonna wreck." About this time, he said, "Tommy Rich, Roddy Piper." And about that time, these people come out. They take before the police get there, pull the car back around behind these buildings, and it busted two tires. We put the spare on it. And one other guy had a spare that wasn't the same size. But anyway, they wouldn't take no money. Probably give the guy $50 for his tire, and we limped that car back into Huntington, West Virginia. And back then, you just put your keys in a drop box. Well, we put the keys in the drop box, thought we was cool. About 2 weeks later, they start taking money out of my cousin Johnny Rich's paycheck to pay $1,800 for the car we tore up. And anyway, Roddy went in there and said, "God damn it!" He said, "I wrecked the car." He said, "Here's the 1,800." He said, "Quit taking it out of that kid's money." But yeah, Roddy was cool. If he did something wrong, he fessed up to it.
Wow. What was your reaction when he passed? Were you like, well, he's been playing that game for all these years. I expected it, or were you still shocked?
Well, he was, and he had. I mean, he was ill. He had cancer too, right?
Yeah, yeah, I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Yeah, he had. You know, I mean, I think that's. I mean, I think that was what happened to him.
Yeah. Well, he'll always be remembered, that's for sure. The Freebirds is another group that you had a lot of matches with. Could you share any stories about them?
Big Terry, Buddy Roberts, and Jimmy Garvin. They, they, they the men. If it wasn't for them, Michael Hayes wouldn't even have a damn job.
Yeah, Michael Hayes still has a job. I mean, the last I heard, they were putting him on leave or something. But how has he remained with the WWE for all of these years, decades now?
Cause he's good at kissing ass.
Yeah.
He's a good politician. Is all I can say. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Michael Hayes.
I heard you say that Buddy Roberts didn't bathe very often. Did it? Why didn't anyone tell him to take a shower, or was he just did he just not care?
He just didn't care. They put a possum. They put a possum in his bag or something, and he didn't open his bag for 2 weeks. And anyway, got to the town, opened it up. It stunk so bad, and he shook the shit off of it and put it on. I mean, he was nasty.
Did you spend any time with the Von Erichs?
I was around Kerry, well, and I was with David, and I was with Kevin a little bit. They all come through Georgia. I spent a little time. Then I was over in Japan with David a couple of times. But yeah, I knew them. I never worked for Fritz. I never worked for him. I worked for Joe Blanchard out there in San Antonio a few times. Like when Dick was booking it, and then when Wahoo was booking it, I went out there.
How did you get along with Tully Blanchard?
Tully was all right. I loved Tully, especially back then when I first met him. He's, still one of the boys. I mean, he wasn't in the office and none of that stuff. I met him out working for Joe, and he was, I mean, always nice to me, and still nice to me now. I mean, every time we see each other, I mean, I mean, he's real nice.
These days, like if you have a big WrestleMania match, you'll even see in the results after and the days after this match was produced by so and so agent. Like it's The Rock against John Cena. TJ Wilson was the agent. What do you think about that? That they're now like giving agents the credit, and in your day, how much say did the agents actually have in what went on in the match? We know now that the matches are pretty much totally choreographed.
Yeah, we didn't. Well, none of us had no damn agents to begin with. Hell, money we made, we had to have ourselves. We couldn't share it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean like producers, like you know how there's like a guy assigned to a match.
Well,
Uh,
then Ole was the booker, and he just
right.
said what you was going to do, and you did it. Yeah, they didn't have a bunch of matchmakers like that.
How did you get along with Ole? Because you hear he was a gruff personality, but he always treated you well, seemingly. I mean, other than trying to get you fired at the start, and I guess you had Jim Barnett trying to helping you out. So maybe
Well,
maybe you
and
didn't like it.
once he seen I drawing money, me and Ole was cool. I mean, and Ole was all. I mean, we butted heads a couple of times, but wasn't nothing. He knew I. he might have thought he couldn't fire me. Maybe he could. I don't know if he could or not. But but we butted heads a few times. But it was all good at the end of the day.
I think I found the Elvis jacket that you were talking about. Is it this one? You were
No,
no.
that's silver.
Okay, that one's pretty
It's
good. What about this one?
white. No, it's white with gold. No,
I'll keep looking. My God, you must have spent a fortune though on your outfits.
yeah, and I can't believe it. In 1981, it was on Bill Abner's magazine. I was with the Rookie of the Year trophy, and I had that jacket on.
I'll look that up, but while I'm looking it up, for any, I mean, wrestling's totally different now, but let's say there's a young baby face watching this. You're one of the greatest baby faces of all time. I'll give you that. What baby face advice would you give?
I don't know what to give them now because they don't sell enough. I mean, hey, selling, and making the people buy what you're selling. I mean, that's the greatest thing in the world. I think that the business, and I asked somebody about this one time not long ago, but they told me the business has changed so much. It's more like kids like the pinball, like a pinball game. They like the boom, 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 boom stuff. And where ours, we used to slow down, paint a picture, and then do a boom or a boom. And then, but now it's just boom, 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 boom. If I had to sit in the dressing room and go from my first spot to the finish to I couldn't do it. I mean, we'd have a little opening, a little heat spot, then you do the finish, but the rest you played by ear. The in between stuff, all you play by ear because people might not be what you're selling. You might grab an arm and they not be buying that, but you get a headlock and they're buying that. So, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it's even like promos that tell you verbatim what to say today. I mean, tell me what to say, but let me say it in my cornbread way. But you got to say it verbatim what they want to say. So it'd be hard for me. And then, yeah, I just wish kids today had some of that.
Do you think that the wrestlers will ever have the passion again when so many get paid to train now? I mean, I know you can say they're better athletes, but they recruit so many now out of college athletics, and it's like, would these guys even have been a wrestler at all if they weren't getting paid to train?
Uh, I think there's a lot of guys. 90% of the independents are not good, but there's a 10% or 15 or 20% that deserve an opportunity that won't ever get it, that come to them shows and make 10, 20, $50, whatever the hell they make, and go every weekend and drive 200 miles, spend more on gas than they do to get paid, but because they love this business. And I think that's what these guys are in it for, the opportunity to make money. Uh, the other guys, they love the business and deserve an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with that. Somebody says he got an autograph from you and Nick Patrick at the old Villa Rica Armory in Douglasville, Georgia. Do you remember wrestling in that building?
Yeah, Villarica. Yeah, we wrestled there a few times. A heck of a building. And Carrollton, Georgia, that's the town I was talking about. We draw where I'd make $250 and made 150 for once. Yeah. Oh, that was a hell of a wrestling town.
Are you still running your wrestling school, and who are some of the wrestlers you trained that we might recognize?
No, my wrestling school didn't last long. We had about 10 guys, and none of them never really made it. Here in Myrtle Beach, it's just the market wasn't here. I wanted to do it in Georgia, but the guy that wanted to do it lived in Myrtle Beach, and that's why I moved to Myrtle Beach. But it just, this is a tourist town, and you have tourists come in, and then at the end of that, it ain't a lot of people. Um, so yeah, it didn't work out good, but I've got a Wildfire Championship wrestling going on in Kentucky right now. It's doing pretty good.
And I found a page that has all of your magazine covers. Maybe you can tell me if you see the one you're talking about. Can you?
I can't even see them.
They're too small. Well, you've been on a lot. The fans can probably see them. They're huge. You've been on like at least 20
I
covers.
can't believe one of the fans out there ain't got that magazine.
Uh, I mean, I can see one. It's like a blue and gold. Can you see
No,
this?
it's me on the knee. I'm on my knee, and it's a white jacket with gold zodiac on it.
Could it be this one?
No.
Wow, the one you're talking about is going to be famous by the time we're done this. No, what about this one?
That's when I said the fans go to hell.
Uh, with such a nice smile. Yeah, okay. Well, someone's got to find this for me in the next couple of days and look it up. So you got along pretty well with everyone. What do you think about the whole Vince McMahon controversy that's going on now? That seems to be dying down a little bit now that it seems there's some questionable stuff about the person that was making those accusations about him. Do you think it's just going to all blow over and Vince is going to come back to WWE one day, or do you think this is truly the end of him?
God, it would, well, with all the money he's got, it'd be the end for me anyway. I wouldn't even want to be back in the business, to be honest. But you never know with him. But I think some of them stories are true, probably so.
Would you like to see another company come up? I know we got, TNA is pretty much an affiliate of WWE now. AEW started out as kind of an alternative, but then it kind of went in the other direction. And then there's WWE. Could there be room for another company that's more old school style, or is that just wishful thinking? Has wrestling just changed at this point? We all
Yeah,
gotta.
I think that's wishful thinking. I mean, I'd love to think it could go back to territories where some of these independents could make it, and if you could get 4 or 5 of these independents, that's now I'm not talking about backyard wrestling. I'm talking about my good independents that I go work for. Uh, if you get 4 or 5 of them to get together where they can swap talent out and try to do a little TV thing, you might could do a little something. But as far as territories, I mean that I think, and that's what sucks for these kids that do the independents, because that's the only way you learn. If you wrestle 5-6 days a week in a row, that's how you learn in front of people, and that opportunity's gone, and for all them kids out there that do want to make it, unless you one of them that they pick up, and I'm sure they get a couple from the independents, but they don't get the talent they should. They'd rather go out and pay somebody and teach them what they want them to know.
Yes, that is very true. Someone was asking about the fabulous ones, Steve Kern and Stan Lane. Any memories of working with those guys?
I don't know if I worked with them or not. Oh yeah, me and Eddie did. Yeah, but yeah, Steve and Stan, me and Eddie, we were prefab. They Stan and Steve, when Jarrett brought us in to do the Fabulous One gimmick, Steve and Stan, you couldn't touch them. They was over like nobody's business as the Fabulous Ones. I mean, they carried that load. I mean, me and Eddie come in and did it after them. If they'd brought me in as Tommy Wildfire Rich and Eddie in as Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, we would have drawn Jerry Jarrett more money. But he just wanted to show them that he could do something.
What were your thoughts overall on Jerry Jarrett? I knew him. I always liked him. Some people thought he didn't pay that great, but it seems to me like he helped you get in the business.
Yeah, no, Jerry paid now Nick Goulas didn't pay very good money, but Jerry Jarrett, I mean, my money was always good.
What town did you like wrestling the most in? Was it just the Georgia territory in general?
God, I mean, when we was hot and went up to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Huntington, West Virginia, the Fieldhouse, they was all good buildings back then. I mean, it was nice to wrestle in your backyard at the Atlanta City Auditorium. I mean, And like I said, Georgia trips, you can be home every night and go down to the strip and party, you know. So Atlanta to me was my favorite place to work.
Did you ever have like a stalker or anything back in the days when you had like you were like the Beatles all in one guy in the Georgia territory and all the girls wanted you? Was there ever a girl that kind of went over the line
Oh,
with following you?
I had three guys. I got kidnapped one time because I was supposed to wrestle Stan Hansen in Loser Leave Town, and I got kidnapped.
Well, now you got to tell us that story. How does that even happen?
I'm just teasing, man.
Oh, you got well. That happens in like Mexico with
Yeah,
Mexican
no
wrestlers. You
shit.
know,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no, I'm just teasing. Yeah,
Did you ever wrestle in Puerto Rico?
yeah. I went to Puerto Rico a couple of times. That was a tough place to be. I'm gonna tell you, it was them people. They throw bottles, rocks, anything they could get their hand on. It didn't matter if you was a good guy or a bad guy. They'd sling them.
Yeah, it sounds like when I wrestled there too. Yeah, tell your wife he's almost done. We got about 9 minutes left, but we appreciate your time.
Oh man,
Is that your wife? Get your wife on here for a second
oh,
to
that was
say
my
hi.
grandson. That wasn't my
Oh, your
wife.
grands? Who do you live with? Who do you
Oh,
live
me
with
and
there?
me and my wife, my grandson lives with us.
Oh, that's nice. Is he going to get into the wrestling business?
No, he don't even no. No, he likes to go with me every now and then, but that ain't his cup of tea.
You were in the AWA as well. Could you share any stories from your time there? You had a little bit of time with the AWA.
Out of Minnesota.
Yeah, back when they were working with Memphis.
Yeah, I went up there. Wahoo was doing the booking, and got me booked up there. And I went up there when it was really cold. I stayed about 6 months, and it just was too hard because I was a family man. I didn't like being gone. I'd have to be gone two weeks at a time or something. Uh, I just going to Japan's one thing because you make good money, but to be gone 2 weeks from home and not make a bunch of money, it ain't worth it.
You were around Sensational Sherry around that time, right? Did you know her very
Oh
well?
God, I love Sherry Martell, one of the sweetest girls you ever met in your life. Hey, and she fights you like a man, but be the sweetest lady in the world. Yeah, she grew up in this. She come up in this business when it's tough for ladies to be in it, and she was a lady, but she was meaner than hell too. Sherry Martell, I love her.
She lived in Georgia too, didn't she, in her later years? I heard she was quite a partier.
Yeah, she liked to go.
Did you ever could she outdrink you?
I don't know. We never did party like that. I just see
Yeah.
her at the building. She was always respectful to me, and I was always respectful to her. When I used to talk about AWA, I went up there and worked the angle with Kevin Kelly and her and ripped her dress off. That was a big thing. Yeah, I mean, Sherry was just always good people.
And that's Kevin Kelly, who ended up being Nails later and attacked famously Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
What was he like? He was I heard he was an uptight guy. How
yeah,
was he in
kind of
there?
high strung. He kind of high strung, but he another one of them said, "If you're gonna kill me, I can't work with you." Yeah, but he was good. We had some good matches.
You worked with Adrian Adonis up there too, didn't you?
I worked with Adrian in Atlanta. Yeah,
Okay.
Atlanta, and then he was a good friend. He lived in the same apartment complex I did, and he was a wild one too.
Yeah, is there any stories you can share about him? He was definitely a party animal.
Yeah, no, I wasn't ever around him like that. I mean, with the building, we'd see each other, and uh, I mean, we went to the bar a couple of times, but he never did show out in front of me.
Yeah. Well, the evidence of that is you're still alive, and everyone
Yeah,
he was doing that around his path. Is that when you first met Paul Dangerously at that point in the AWA?
no, I met him in Memphis.
Okay, so he was in the Memphis. I didn't know that he was in Memphis. That's
Yeah, he
interesting.
was a manager. Yeah, he was a manager in Memphis. That's where I met him.
So he the one that brought you to ECW?
Yeah,
Okay, because it was his idea, this whole Italian gimmick, I guess.
yeah,
Okay, interesting. So you overall you didn't last very long in the AWA for that reason. And I guess Vern Gagne was being phased out around that time.
yeah. And like I said, but after about 6 months, it was time for me to go home. I
When
kind
you
of, I mean, they were still running, but I just kind of left, because
right.
it was too far from, I just wanted to be home.
When you wrestled Stan Hansen, would he have been the AWA champion at that time?
No, he wasn't even up there then.
Okay. Is that when you met Rick Martel, or would that have just been at a
No, I
different
met
time?
Ricky in Atlanta. He come to Atlanta. That's where we first met, and of
Okay.
course we teamed up, and then we drawed good money together. I mean, just as a good young, good looking baby face tag team.
Is it true that Martel and Piper were very close? I've heard a few people say that.
Now that I can't tell you, I don't know. I was never around them both at the same time, so I don't know.
John Wilburn wants to know any memories of Bluefield, West Virginia during the WCW days.
Bluefield, yeah, I remember wrestling there. As a matter of fact, I remember wrestling in Beckley, West Virginia, and talk about Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin, Big Terry, myself, Tom Pritchard, Nick Patrick, the referee. We went down the New River up there. We went down the New River, went rafting down through there, man. Had a cool time.
Very good. Who was your favorite boss of all of your bosses in wrestling?
Mr. Barnett.
Interesting. What did he end up passing away from?
That I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think that they portrayed him fairly in the dark side of the ring on the Battle of Atlanta, or did you even see it? Because it seemed like they made him out to be ripping people off in a way. But you
Mr. Barnett, no, he didn't rip nobody off. He was
right.
he was getting ripped off. I mean, I think if the truth comes out on that one, Old and Ralph Reed, they was the one that ripped off somebody, not Mr. Barnett.
Which of your friends that you've lost in wrestling has hit you the hardest? Has there been one guy in particular? I mean, all of them have got to hit you. Like the Sabu, for instance, I could tell that one hurts. But is there anyone that you were really close with that
Well,
took you a
Eddie,
while?
I mean, Eddie was like a brother. I mean, Eddie, I you know, grew up with him taking pictures, then us teaming up. I mean, I spent a lot of time with Eddie.
It seems like Puerto Rico is one of those places where if you have demons, you're not going to last very long because they'll just take a hold of you there, and it can be a depressing place, as you said. So it's too bad Eddie passed away there.
Yeah, it was sad.
Any advice for general in wrestling? You giving us babyface advice? Somebody commented earlier you were one of the best heels in the history of Memphis wrestling. Maybe you could give us some heel advice as we wrap it up here.
Shit, that and I had the best of both worlds because being in Georgia, being a baby face on top, I mean everybody loved you, and then being in Memphis, you know, and if you want to be a heel, and which now today, I mean, and I know it's all about. You said something earlier about selling pictures and T-shirts and all the gimmicks. See, back in the day, the heels they didn't do none of that. And now then you go out and every heel's out there selling stuff. So there ain't no heels no more. It's in betweeners. You know, if you want to be a heel, be a heel. Don't go out and sell pictures. And I know that sucks. You're gonna make a little extra money. Promoter ought to pay you a little extra money if you don't go out and be a heel. I mean, if you stay in the back and be a heel like you're supposed to be, promoter ought to give you a little extra bump or some of them baby faces, whatever. I don't know, but it's hard to be a heel when you're out there selling pictures and T-shirts.
Good advice. And final fan question here. Any Buddy Landell stories? Another crazy guy.
I was just around. Hey, Buddy Landell was one of the Memphis Mafia, man. I mean, you figure there's 5 of us and there's 2 left. You know, we had Brian Christopher, Buddy Landell, and Eddie, and then Doug and me still left, man. But yeah, Buddy was. You know, a lot of people. You know, I mean, say he messed up. He had opportunity to go for the belt against Flair and do the Nature Boy thing. And but Buddy, he was his own spirit, man. He did what he wanted to do, lived his life the way he wanted to. So, but I never had no problems with him. Love Buddy to death.
Did you think Brian Christopher died the way they said, or do you think there was something more to it? Because it was ruled that it was a suicide, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's kind of still up there, but I mean, I don't know. You know, it's hard for me to swallow. Uh, you know, it's just it's a sad situation.
Do you think Gino's death was really an overdose, Gino Hernandez, or do you think there was more to it than that?
Well, I think Gino might have been tied up with some folks he shouldn't be. But hey, I loved when I wrestled with Paul Bosch. I spent a lot of time with Gino, and I mean, what a cool person. And that's another, you know, it's tough.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Tommy. You're one of the best people in wrestling. Where can the fans follow you? Are you
Tommy
online anywhere?
Wildfire Ridge,
Tommy Wildfire Rich. There you go. On Instagram, right?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, told you I wasn't very educated.
Perfect. Well, I'll let you close this off. Give us a little promo to shut this down. Thank you.
Somebody said about Hannibal, you better not come my way. But there again, get me booked up there in Canada for a couple of shots. That's what you need to do.
Good. I cut it.